What's up, internet? Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Fiction Forge, the show where it's our mission to spread creativity through the hearts and minds of all you amazing, awesome people out there.
This episode is especially for all you jugglers and festival junkies out there, but also for fans of interesting toys that, when mastered, will make you look like a living optical illusion.
We'll be making ourselves a set of S-shaped staves or Buugeng out of little more than a bit of hardboard we picked up at the tip for nothing.
Then, we're going to give them a psychedelic neon paint job using the acrylic dirty pouring skills we learnt in our last episode.
And then, we'll be fitting them with a set of removable LEDs to make nighttime spinning a grand spectacle. What do you think, Jim?
I think it's time to Buugeng. The word Buugeng is a combination of two Japanese words, Bu meaning martial art
and Geng meaning illusion. For something with such a fearsome weapon-like appearance, the S-shaped staff neither finds its origins as an exotic death dealer or even a fancy boomerang of some kind.
Rather, the concept was created by an American juggler named Michael Motion in the late 80s. Here is an early performance of his at a TED Talk using S-shaped staves.
Oh, remember this from Labyrinth?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, same guy.
You don't say. Anyway, the name Buugeng was given 20 years later by a Japanese performer named Dai Xiaobao, who elaborated on the concept a fair bit since its first appearance.
Their parabolic shape gives them a grace and elegance that translates into stunning visual kaleidoscopes and optical illusions for observers standing in the right place.
No promises on being able to spin like these amazing people, but I'm sure we can whip up a pair just to find out how bad we suck though.
We have broken our Buugeng's construction down into 4 phases.
First is design, where we do some referencing and then choose a shape and some characteristics we like.
Next is fabrication, where we cut our designs out of the raw material and refine their shape.
Then we do some finishing by giving them a stunning paint job with a protective coating.
Lastly, we augment their function a bit by giving them some LEDs. Okay, so phase 1 is about putting together a game plan for what we want to make.
So let's start off with a quick visit to Google Images to see what's already around and select a good base shape to work from.
Referencing these days is like shooting fish in a barrel. Boom, this one looks good. Wrap it up to go.
Now let's take our image into the software we're going to use to print the stencil with. We're going to use Adobe Photoshop for this.
Using the pen tool, let's trace around the bit we're going to use as the template for our stencil, then ditch the image.
Now let's make sure the dimensions are correct so the resulting Buugeng will be the right size.
Make sure the canvas size is set to a physical measurement like centimeters, instead of a digital one like pixels. And then set the width to 80 centimeters, the default length for Buugeng to spin comfortably without repeatedly bonking yourself on the head.
We can now duplicate and flip the template to show us our complete Buugeng outline. We then scale it till it fills exactly 80 centimeters. Delete the duplicate and move the template to the center of the canvas.
Open up Print and position the template so we can print it out in 2 or more pieces.
Hit print and let's be off to phase 2.
Let's stop by the printer and pick up the pieces of our template.
Then we cut the bits out and stick them together to form our completed stencil.
Now we can trace the shape 4 times onto our raw material. In our case it's laminated hardboard planks that slot together.
Believe it or not, I picked these things up 3 years ago at the dump with no purpose in mind for them. Who would have thought they would have ended up being used for this?
It's a pretty complex shape, so we recommend something like a jigsaw or a table saw if you are using wood as your base material. We burnt Jim's Dremel out making the attempt, so don't do that. You will regret it.
Now that we have the rough shape cut from the hardboard, we can stick the pieces together with a bit of wood glue to cement the fragments together.
Let's refine the shape and bevel the edges with a bit of sanding, to make it more comfortable and safe to handle. We would use a belt sander if we had one, but these big ass files, some sandpaper and a bit of elbow grease will have to suffice.
Then let's drill 2 holes through each pair so we can bolt them together tightly. Don't forget to countersink the holes with a larger bit so the nut and bolts sit flush. Let's also cut the bolts to size so they also fit snugly.
And now we're ready to get colorful in phase 3.
Time to dirty pour over our prepared Buugeng segments.
Let's put a bit of black paint down first to help the paint flow when we pour.
Then add the various colors we've chosen one by one into a separate container, and then we're ready for our first pour.
Give it a thorough coating followed immediately by some blowtorching to set the patterns.
This side will have to dry completely before we can move on to the other surfaces.
Here are all the dirty pours we did in the order that we did them, minus the intervals in between to dry.
The hand swirl technique was making more interesting patterns, so we decided to re-pour the first two in the same style so it wouldn't appear shabby by comparison.
After a few touch-ups here and there, and enough time to thoroughly dry, we can now spray on a clear plastic coating to protect and enhance the paint job.
Like psychedelic candy scepters, and we're not done yet. On to phase 4.
Okay, so nothing fancy here. We picked up these battery-powered color LEDs for next to nothing from our local flea market. First we take the batteries we want to use, then we wrap them in electrical tape, and then submerge them in acrylic paint.
Once they're dry, we can use scissors to cut out our paint packs.
A bit of oil poured in with the batteries will help them release easier from the tape. Or just be smart and wrap the first layer sticky side up.
Now we can use a bit more paint to secure a tape lid in place. Then the chip with the switch. And finally the contacts.
Let's also dirty pour the battery packs, so they blend in better with the Buugeng.
We decided to use Velcro to hold it all together, but we only had some white, so we just spray painted it black, and then used some super glue to stick it to the acrylic.
Let's strap 'em and wrap 'em, cause it's time to see what we got. Totally chuffed with this result. I'm sure one could use these to lead people at festivals around like the Pied Piper.
It's not enough just to have them, Mike. You have to be able to Buugeng with them.
Oh well, at least we can practice now.
In time we may have to do an update video on our mad Buugeng skills.
Or maybe I'll just keep using them as my dog herding tool. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
If you're tired of your favorite creators' content being stifled by the need for advertisers, then head over to Patreon and give people who are passionate about their weirdness a much needed helping hand.
If you enjoy our content, you feel you get value from it, and you want to get involved with building the community from the ground up, then join us and have your say in what we make and where the channel goes in the future by clicking over to our Patreon page now.
Contribute whatever you can per video and you'll be helping to build a world where creatives need not be caged in cubicles or tethered to view counts.
Either way, you are always welcome here.
We hope you got tons of value from this video and are now psyched to either make or spin some Buugeng for yourself. Hopefully both.
Check the description below for a Buugeng template you can print out yourself. It even includes the finger notches on the handles.
We would also appreciate any suggestions for future Dirty Port creations. Leave them in the comments below.
Till next time, stay curious, live creatively, and always remember,
Wizards only, fools. Keep it tight.